Indie Horror Junkie! Indie Horror Junkie!
Indie Horror Junkie!
Indie Horror Junkie!
Indie Horror Junkie!
Indie Horror Junkie!
Indie Horror Junkie!
Indie Horror Junkie!
We're a panic attack!
Indie Horror Junkie!
Woo! Indie Horror Junkie!
Indie Horror Junkie! Indie Horror Junkie!
It's the Indie Horror Junkie Podcast, your source for anything and everything indie horror. Here's your host, Otis B. Dreads. And a good evening. It is 8 o'clock. Do you know where your indie horror's at? It is right here. The Indie Horror Junkie Podcast, IndieHorrorJunkie.com. I am Otis B. Dreads. Of course, rotting Ricky D sitting, this side over here. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. And you?
I'm doing good. I'm decompressing. I was on my first set last week, my first acting gig. I'm still decompressing, man. The post-production blues is no joke, people. It is nothing to mess around with. Before I forget, we already got people busting through the doors for this one.
Nice.
We have Mr. Nanners, who I got to meet personally on set. Oi, Mr. Nanners. Howard, welcome. Chris Hewitt says, hey, DBS Films.
Hey.
What else we got here? Lynn, welcome. This is, it says Facebook user, but I have my Facebook up over here. I know who it is. Mr. Sean Smithson, who played Santa Claus in this, and Bone Ripper. Funny little joke. He was the king of dad jokes on the set. You know, there's always got to be one. He was sitting out back. It was nice and peaceful where the location was. He was sitting out back. And of course, this is in Texas. You got deer, there was a friggin' turkey running around. There was cows. He was sitting out there and he was, rehearsing his lines. And well, I guess the cows didn't like it because they mooed him. Yes, I told him I would tell that joke on there. He was the king of dad jokes. But yes, it was fun. And just to get people over to the Indie Horror Junkie Podcast Facebook page, if you would like to take a gander at some of the photos that we have, maybe a few videos that were taken by the cast and crew while we were there, you're going to have to go over there. Oh, I could have put them up here. I could have, but I want to get you over there to the Facebook group page, or the Facebook podcast page. So it was fun. It was really fun.
Very cool.
And we got Jamie just joined us. Miss Jamie
Hey,
Hill,
Jamie.
Skinamarink. Welcome, Jamie. We got some big things coming up. Of course, the new issue of the Indie Horror Junkie magazine, which you can get over there at IndieHorrorJunkie.com. And that's coming out May 13th.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any tidbits? What can we expect? Oh no, my phone's going off. What can we expect from this new issue, if you can tell us? I know it's
Absolutely.
a bit far out, but tell us what we can expect, buddy.
That's okay. So far, it looks like this is going to be our biggest issue. We had to add some pages in here to accommodate some of the many articles that we've been getting in. And that's the thing, as we're growing and as we're getting a bigger readership and more eyeballs on it, I'm getting a lot more emails from a lot more productions that are going on. So we've got that. On the cover is going to be a special effects team that I've worked with here in Florida, Wendy Feliciano and Kevin Kedgley. They're really becoming a name here locally for not just special effects, but for makeup effects, for weapons creation, for prop building, all kinds of stuff. They've got an Etsy store and everything. They'll be on the cover. We'll have a full article talking about them. We got Blood on the Bleachers, which is a big movie that's getting ready to come out. The Forest Through the Trees. Yeah, I love it too. And so really big articles there about those. And it comes out on the 13th, as I explained. And then also we have our Nightmare Collection Volume 2, which is going to be an Indie Horror Junkie release. That's coming out probably the next couple of months. We're actually doing a premiere of the feature-length version on Monday at an event called April Spooks Day at a great place called the Spookeasy Lounge on Monday at 8 o'clock. We'll have cast and crew. We'll have our table set up, selling T-shirts, magazines, all that good stuff. And then that'll be released. And we put out a call today for anybody that has a really good horror short that would like to be a part of the Nightmare Collection Volume 3. Reach out to us, drop us a link for a trailer, tell us about it, whatever case may be. We're filming Nightmare Collection Volume 3 probably in June, July, and we'll be releasing the Volume 3 following that. So we're looking for a couple of really good horror shorts that would like to be distributed under the Indie Horror Junkie label, and we're really excited about what we got going on.
Awesome. And you could send that to the Indie Horror Junkie Gmail you see scrolling across your screen right now.
That's right.
So that's about it, right? Going back to Helvira, there's going to be a finishing funds campaign starting May 1st. So if you would like to help, there's going to be some pretty cool perks. Helvira's outfit is a perk.
What? She doesn't come in the outfit for extra?
No, unfortunately, she doesn't come in the outfit, just the outfit herself. So
I got you.
Yeah, so a lot of really cool perks. Bone Ripper's outfit, mask, and everything is a perk. Zyklon 7, which I wore. That is.
You were Zyklon 7?
Yes, I was Lord Zyklon 7. I was Elvira's personal bodyguard. That is also going to be a perk. So Finishing Funds opens their doors May 1st. May 1st. Indiegogo. So all right, let's get on with the show, my friend. I forgot to ask Brendan how to pronounce the last name there. Rudnick? Is that close? He's shaking his head. Maybe that's close enough. I'll get corrected when we bring him on, but I'm just gonna Rudnicki something.
There you go. Just keep beating it to death, you know.
Thumbs up from both of them in the back. All right, Rudnicki. All right, Brendan Rudnicki and Benjamin L. Newmark. And Brendan has this lovely little film called Force of Death. I dig it, man. I watched it last night, as well as Cold Grave. And
they're both available on Tubi, right?
Yes, they are both available on Tubi, and I think most of your streaming services. We'll get the lowdown on that. Benjamin's in both of them movies, so very, very cool to have both of them here talking about. And Cold Graves is their latest that was out. Force of Death came out like last year, and it is still going strong. It's a good flick. I recommend. You have Otis B. Dreads. I personally recommend these two. They're really cool. Here is a clip of or a trailer for Force of Death. When we come back, we're at Brendan and Benjamin joining us. Be right back.
There is an evil in these woods. There is something out there. The reason is locals know enough not to come out to these woods at night. I know what it is. It's shapeshifter. Take your form and take your voice. It mimics you. But the moment it gets in one of your heads, that's when it strikes like a coiled up snake and just snaps right at you. Maybe I'm just making things up to scare you when you hear things go bumping tonight. Or maybe I'm telling y'all the truth.
All right, Brendan Benjamin. Thank you. Welcome to the show, man. How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having us.
Hey, not a problem. That's like I mentioned, I did see that. I did watch that. That's pretty cool. I want to know more about, I mean, I understand the whole Skinwalker thing, but I want to know, more about how you guys came up with that. And Benjamin, I love your character. I was expecting the cowboy hat. I was going to wear mine. I got one similar. I thought we were going to be, Stampede Hat Brothers tonight, but
You know what? That's a really interesting thing. I have no idea where that hat is right now.
huh.
That's probably
Funny
not a
because
good
I don't
video.
know where mine is right now.
Oh, that's not good. I kind of need that for a
Part 3?
career.
That's awesome. Brendan, tell us a little bit about Forest of Death. And of course, we want to get into Cold Grave. That's the latest. That's your from DBS. I'll make sure I got that right because I have it up here in another tab that I wanted to talk about. If you want to actually start with that, DBS Films, and then we can go on and into what movies are under the DBS umbrella and talk about that. Tell us about DBS Films.
Yeah, sure. So DBS Films, we were founded in, I think, 2018, back on the Amazon platform, back when Prime used to, be where the indie horror guys hung out. And, Amazon's paying really well, very lucrative for indie filmmakers. My day job is in publishing. So I write stories and we do books, and we're in the process of, basically taking those books and making them movies. And, we started with Amazon. And we just started to make a whole bunch of movies. We basically made 12 movies, or we made 9 movies in the span of about 3 years. And the one thing that I learned was, writing a book's it's difficult, but all it takes is your time and basically your energy. And I thought, well, it'd be really easy to take these books and make them movies. Like it can't be that difficult. And it is extremely difficult to write a script, to make that a movie, to keep your vision all the way through is almost impossible. And it's 10 times harder on an indie level because you're working with people who, are on the same level as I am, where we're just learning, we're trying to figure out things. So it's been a journey. So our first 9 movies, or our first 8 movies, we call them the Hateful Eight. It's a loving term that we kind of, call them because there's a lot of problems with them. There's sound problems, there's story problems, there's audio problems. But we learned from them, and we basically, our 9th movie was actually a hit. It was Girl in Cabin 13. This was after COVID happened. We had to take a year off because nobody was shooting anything. And that movie we shot that movie, small cast, small crew, but basically Tubi licensed that movie. And that was back when Tubi was really starting to get going, and it just kind of blew up. And it was the #1 horror movie on Tubi for a while. And, really kind of catapulted our trajectory much higher than it was before. And we've been making movies ever since. We're about to shoot our 17th feature film in 2 weeks in the state of Florida. And, basically this is what we do. We try and make as many as we can. And when Forest of Death comes in, I'm a 70s and 80s horror guy. I love those movies. I'm a sleepaway camp guy. I kind of like the cheese, the lighthearted stuff. And, I haven't really had an opportunity to do that. And I said, you know what? I want to try that. I want to try and, make a Tremors or something that's a little bit more fun. And this is what it is. You have the tropes are in there. You have the attractive blonde girl, the good looking boyfriend, the other two that are, kind of along for the ride. And I'm a big fan of The Thing. That's one of my favorite movies. And I really want to try to make a Skinwalker movie. And this is our attempt at it. And I think it kind of combines all this stuff. It was a learning lesson. I think we did some things that, we did really, really well. And I think there's things that we could, learn from. But, I'm forever thankful for everyone who worked on this project, because it also got me to, meet Ben, who has been in a lot of our movies and, continues to just be an inspiration, moving forward in these other movies. So everything kind of fell into place. And, we're just really thankful to work with a community that loves indie horror. I love indie horror. It's my favorite kind of horror. I go on Tubi and go down those rabbit holes. But that's where we are now, and we're just, continually trying to find, horror fans, and we're just trying to continue making movies. And, every day that I could wake up and create something and shoot a movie is, it's the best day ever.
That's awesome, man. Benjamin, how as Brendan mentioned, you've been in quite a few DBS films. How'd you get started in acting? Give us a little insight to who the hell you are, man.
Well, first in the audience is Howard Hawkins. It's his birthday, so I want to say happy birthday to Howard.
Happy birthday, Howard.
He's, I don't think I've been in a DBS film without him, so definitely a huge happy birthday to the man who comes to save the day in every film I'm in. I started acting in 2002 almost by accident. I started in the industry as a writer. I wanted to be a journalist for the Yankees. That's all I ever wanted to do. And as it turns out,
good team, a huge Yankees fan.
Oh, perfect. That's what I wanted to do. Late 90s, early 2000s, I lived and died baseball. I still live and die with the Yankees. And as it turned out, I was a pretty good sketch writer. I was a decent TV writer. My first job right out of the gate was writing off Broadway for a sketch group. Before even starting college, right out of high school, I went to an audition. And they made me do like a 5-minute stand-up routine. And all I did was talk about taking the bus to New York for the first time. And I got a job.
Wow.
And I started in college. I figured, hey, it would be a good idea to take an acting class so I could learn how actors think and what they do. And before I knew it, I was on stage and I was writing. I was trying to make my own short films. I was kind of all over the place. I was feeling the entire industry out. And, by 2005, 2006, I was primarily just an actor. I did my art films. I did my drama films. I did my stage work. And I really went that route. I didn't do much horror, even though I grew up as a huge horror fan. But, there's that stigma when you're an actor of don't do horror. Stay away from horror. It's not good for your career. And I did that. So I did all my method acting for all these big dramatic roles, and I got to all these great film festivals, and I got to get all this recognition, and no one cared. And then I found something better when I met my wife, and I had a family, and I stepped away for 11 years.
Wow.
And I did nothing. And I took a lot of time off, and then I somehow found my way back in through doing a student film, kind of scratch an itch. And I was like, that's it, I'm done now. And I did a commercial. I'm like, that's it, I'm done now. And then I started just getting a few more auditions. I got to do a part in Parch 3, which if anyone's a fan of the Parch series, I'm in the one that you didn't see. And I was kind of done again. And then I saw an audition for a Shapeshifter movie. And I auditioned for the good-looking guy, and I was terrible. And I auditioned for the other one, and I was terrible. And I messaged Brendan. I shot him an email. I was like, hey, I auditioned for your film. I did a really crappy audition. But this other character you wrote for this older, crazy Ralph type, I'm wrong for that character, but I know that character. Can I give it a shot? And in super Brendan fashion, he just wrote back, go for it. So I came in my bathroom, because it's the only quiet place in the house, and I shot the very first iteration of the Roger character. And it was that character that I grew up loving from Friday the 13th, that one that warns you about what you shouldn't do, that one that's a little bit out there, the one that is that little bit of a red herring. And then we had the formal audition, and before I knew it, I was on set, and I arrived, and I walked right into the middle of a shot and ruined it. Very first time that happened. Fully destroyed a shot, screwed it up for everybody. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna get fired. And it's a very welcoming environment. And I've done a lot of work. And there's something about being on a DBS set that's very different than being anywhere else. It's almost as if you're just going to work at a place you've been working at for 30 years. It's welcoming, it's nurturing, it's a creative think tank at all times. There's no right, there's no wrong. There's do your prep, come prepared, and hey, we're going to help you get through this. We're all just going to try and get through this. None of us are going to sleep. Some of us may forget to eat on occasion. Some of us may drink too much in a scene and have to get through it. You never know, especially with the Roger character. And everything I'd ever done up until that point prepared me for that one role, that one character, that one scene. For anyone who's watching, that fire pit scene was an entirely improvised scene. And the way that came to be was, we did our rehearsal, we had it down, we knew where we wanted to go, and we created this character. And before we went to go shoot it, and I'm talking like right before, a few hours before, as they're building the fire pit, it wasn't clicking right. There was something missing. And I was sitting around with Dylan, who is like little Brendan. He's the assistant director, he's the assistant on set, he's everything that you could ever want to have on you at the set. He can do any job at any time. He can keep you on track. He's great to bounce ideas off of. And I was just saying, hey, this isn't hitting. I think I got an idea. But at the time, it was my second day working with Brendan and Kellen. I really didn't know what to do, but I had this idea in my head. I didn't know how to fully get it out there. And again, I started on stage as an improv guy, Upright Citizens Brigade. So I was like, I know where I want to go, but I don't really know how to get there. So right before, as everyone's sitting around and they're getting the blocking, I said, hey, I got an idea. And I kind of just want to do something. And again, very Brendan, go for it. You can turn on the camera and see what happens. And we did, a 13-minute improvised scene. And that was basically where Roger was born for the very first time. Was once I got in his head and I got his voice, I knew where he was coming from, where he was going, the story. That was that moment where it's like, oh, this feels right. This is good. This is, I think I got a home here. And then the way Brendan and Kellen could throw out ideas of, hey, can you switch this part and this part? Maybe drop this out, slide this in. Can you get it to about this time frame? Can you make sure you do that? And it was like we were just creatively writing a story as we're shooting a movie, and just, being able to feed the other actors and them all being fully engaged. It was one of those crazy moments where, like, all the training, all the work, everything you do to perfect your craft just kind of hits. And pretty much from that moment on, I think Brendan and I have basically been in sync with everything we've done. Of, we speak the same language, sales and marketing, creativity. Let's get this done. Throw the script in the trash. Screw it. Let's not use it. And hey, we really like the same kind of films. So from there, it's really been a different career. So even though I started all the way back in 2002, it really didn't start to click until 2022 when we did that movie. And obviously from the reception we got, it was 20 years in the making. It finally worked out.
I almost fell out of my chair when you said that campfire, that fire pit scene was improvised, because I shit you not. I turned to my wife while we were watching it, and I was like, I swear this has an improvised feel. It was, I was like, this is either improvised or this dude is a really good actor at making it sound genuine. And, it didn't sound like this was something you memorized off a script. And if it was, like I said, you really sold it as genuine. I was like, so it's either that or it's improvised. I had this, I caught that right away. And that was great. That really set your character up there.
Yeah, I think that was, he made it very, very clear that this has to be important, because they really need to not know, spoilers, it's been out for a year, but whether my character is the shapeshifter or isn't the shapeshifter, if there even is a shapeshifter, like, there's got to be that little red herring thread.
Mm-hmm.
So he made it very clear, you got to sell this. So that was my intention the entire time, was to, I have to be engaging enough and put enough fear into them and suck them in enough for them to, am I telling the truth? Am I not telling the truth? What's this guy full of? And I think the improv way was the best way to go with it. Because
I
it was a
agree.
good
Yeah.
scene. It was a really good scene. Just it wasn't, for me, it wasn't clicking.
Yeah. And that click happened, I think, when you improv'd it. That came off really, really well. Brendan, what you kind of alluded to it, but about how much how passionate you are about the indie community. Being a filmmaker in the indie horror community, tell us about some trials and tribulations, because we like to bring them up to possibly some young filmmakers that may come across this video. And, we've heard numerous times about things that, can go wrong, the hurdles that you have to jump and how tough it can be to get a film made. And we kind of do that as a warning. This isn't all glamour. This isn't all easy. Just turn the camera on type stuff. Tell us about some of the trials.
There's no glamour in this.
No glamour at all. Tell us about some of the trials and tribulations, some of the hurdles that you've encountered as a young filmmaker getting started.
Well, this industry is very difficult. There is incompetence and every single step of the way. And that's just not on the indie. It's on all the way through distribution, through pretty much everything. It's very, very difficult. It's hard. It's difficult. That being said, if you want to make a film, you should try and do it. I think everyone should try and, do a film. I will support as many indie filmmakers as I possibly can. I will reach out, help them. I'm working on a project, Murderer's Mirror, which is coming up with one of our fellow actors. But you just have to make sure you know what you're trying to do, what you're getting yourself into first. There's a lot of research that needs to be done. I think that if you're trying to basically come up with an idea, write a script, and kind of, move forward with that, just make sure you have all your ducks in a row, because when you kind of go on set, you have a small amount of time to lead a small amount of people, and it's very exhilarating. It's very stressful, but I've seen a lot of filmmakers put themselves in bad situations as well. And that's just not something you want to do. That being said, our model specifically shows that this does work. You can make movies for cheap. You can get them done very quickly, and you can get full wide distribution for these movies. You just have to make sure that, you're connecting yourself with a good team, which I've been very fortunate to have. You have good actors like Benjamin. We have a great props team with Havoc Props has done a great job with us. I have Dylan and Tegan as, the people I lean on the most. My brother handles our community as well. So I have a fantastic team there. But that being said, it is extremely difficult to do this. To communicate your vision is probably the hardest thing. I think everyone thinks that they want to be a director and they want to basically lead and manage people, and they want to tell people what to do. And it's completely the opposite of that. I think the only job the job of a director is to take the vision that I have in my head and try and get on the same page with the actors as quickly as possible. And that's one thing with Ben that's great is, he speaks the same language as I do, which is we both love horror. So he understood that character. This is the gas station attendant. This is the guy that's going to deliver the lore. But I made it, very clear to him that this is going to be the trailer. We knew this was going to be the trailer coming, going into it. It's also the middle point of the movie. And, it needed to be done with a little bit more care and effort to it. But I also trusted him. I trusted him to improv and to basically kind of, go all the way through and be able to bring life to this character. And you'll hear me say numerous times, we throw out the script. I don't care about the script, because as much pre-production as we do, my actors understand what they need to do. They understand the character so well that they can make this movie without a script. And I think that's when you really get into acting is improv, because what's horror? It's just putting someone in a situation where scary things happen and seeing how they react. And I've had a lot of success with that. The more I lean into improv, the better it gets. So, that's just kind of our philosophy. But I support indie, filmmakers. If people are out there, please make a movie. If you have an idea, take a shot at it. I've seen stuff made with cell phones now that's been absolutely fantastic. Or just getting your feet wet and learning. Like, I think this is the biggest thing that I've learned is, everyone thinks that the first movie they're going to make is going to go and explode and become a huge blockbuster. And, you know, that's really not the case. It's a skill. You have to refine it. You have to get better. If you look at our movies that we did, you know, when I talked about the Hateful Eight to basically, you know, where we are now, each one gets exponentially better. The next three that we released are pretty much 2 or 3 times as good as, you know, the other ones, because we're seeing what we did wrong and we're fixing those mistakes. But just be careful out there is my biggest thing. There's a lot of, you know, studio people, sales agents, distribution. And when I mentioned the incompetence, it's on those guys, not necessarily the filmmakers. So I want to kind of clear that up. But there's just a lot of landmines that, you know, happen with this stuff. But, you know, there's people that are doing it, that are making, you know, great films. I think we're going to see a resurgence with indie films, which gets me really excited. Skinamarink has done fantastic. I just saw Late Night with the Devil. It's not really indie. It's a higher budget stuff, but seeing that stuff do well in the theaters compared to the tentpole projects gets me really excited. Outwaters was fantastic. I've talked to the guy who's done Winnie the Pooh 2 coming out, and he seems to be pretty excited about that. So I think you're going to see a resurgence of indie film. Tubi kind of led the way, and I hope they continue to lead the way with the new CEO change. But, you know, there's so much creativity and there's so many people out there, especially horror-wise, that I think, you know, just take a shot, learn from it, and, you know, you'll grow. You'll get better with every movie. There's never been a movie where I've been like, man, I wish I didn't make that movie. I love them all. I think they're all great. And you just get better with each one. It's a skill. Filmmaking is a skill.
Yeah, absolutely. And practice makes perfect. Benjamin, what kind of you know, hurdles as an actor did you find yourself getting into when you started getting into, you know, more of the indie side of filmmaking?
Oh, if you want to be a working actor, every day is a hurdle.
Yeah,
because
true.
every day you're not working is a day you're unemployed. And not only is getting the job part of it, but I don't know, I did a thing a couple months back where I looked at everything I'd ever done. And it was almost 100 projects. Out of those 100 projects, I think 40 were completed. And out of the 40, like 25 were actually released. So it was like 25% of all the things I've done have actually seen the light of day.
Yep.
And it's an insane thing. But there's so many actors that I've worked with that are brilliant and talented and incredible actors that it just didn't work. And for whatever reason, it just didn't work. Like, they did a great performance in a film that no one cared about. They did this excellent performance in a film that was never completed. And I've been in a couple of those. One of my best performances in a film no one's ever going to see because the executive producer, the director, and other producer all had a big falling out, and they just gave up on the production. Another film I did with some big stars just stopped after day 4. Just ran out of money. It happens all the time, and not just as an actor, but as anyone who's working in this industry, it's one of the biggest struggles you're going to have is not just finding the right project to show your craft and show how talented you can be, but also to work with a team that's going to get that film out there. And that's, again, one of those things that I love about working with Brendan is before we even start working in production, well, we're in pre-production. He's already telling me how he's going to market it. Like, this is going to be the trailer. Like, you're going to be the guy that sells this movie, so don't suck. And even now,
no pressure. No pressure.
And when we did, you know, we were about to go into our 4th film together, but before we did our 3rd, you know, as we worked closer and closer, he was telling me his entire methodology for distribution, all the markets he wants to hit, the niches he wants to hit, all the different categories he wants to hit, and how he's going to scale this entire production to hit all these different markets. And I love hearing that because I know this film's going to come out. I know it's going to come out, but forced to death, 7 million people are going to watch this movie. Like, that's an insane number because, again, I did all my art house films. I sold out an art house theater full of art nerds and film dorks. And after that was done, no one cared. But with horror, there's such a fan base and there's such a thirst for more and more. And the better the quality and the more heart that you can feel it's in that, the more they're going to turn out to it. Like, I never thought that there'd be a character I got to play more than once, let alone people would like, or, you know, make me a doll of.
Look at that.
Like,
That's awesome.
That's not a thing that I ever thought would happen, but
Right.
that's something that exists in the horror community, in the independent horror community, especially, and definitely with DBS. That's why it's, the rule. Like if Brendan says jump, I'm going to jump.
Red,
Brendan.
do you got anything for the guys?
Absolutely. I was going to say, Brendan, as an independent filmmaker myself, and one of the things here with the Indie Horror Junkie magazine, we cater to the indie film scene. As you know, we don't talk about the higher end films or the studio films. They've got Fangoria and Rue Morgue and all that stuff. We want to focus our attention on the guys like you. I call them the working class filmmakers, the guys that go to work, 9 to 5, and go and make movies in the evenings and the weekends and stuff like that. So I try to ask some filmmaking questions as well, because we have a lot of filmmakers that tune into this show and read the magazine. With regards to distribution, do you guys have a sales agent or a distribution company that you work with? Do you do it all yourself? What is your methodology? You don't have to give me all the secrets, whatever, but just for the independent filmmakers out there, because that's one of the biggest things right now. There's so much dishonesty in the system. There's no more minimum guarantees for their films. All these sales agents and stuff are taking their money or taking their films, putting it out on all the streaming services, and these guys are never seeing any money. That's part of why the SAG strike happened. So what are your thought processes that you can pass along to people that they might be able to look at when and if they can get their films completed?
Yeah, I mean, I just got off the phone with a filmmaker who was having some issues with distribution. This is when that brought in the incompetence comment. That's just what I got off the phone with, and I'm still kind of riled up because he got himself in a pretty bad situation. It's something you have to be aware of, and I think a lot of filmmakers, they want to make a film. It's extremely, extremely difficult to make a film. They're finally done with it, and they're just ready to get rid of it. And unfortunately, distribution is a huge market to it, and they will try and sell you the moon. They will tell you everything that they want to hear. And if you don't have an understanding of contracts or how any of this stuff happens, you can get in a bad situation. And there's just nothing, breaks my heart more than when people put, their heart and their energy and all their money and sometimes credit cards on one film, and there's some distribution companies where you'll never see a dime. So Basically, there's a couple of Facebook groups out there that are filmmaker friendly, and they basically kind of, highlight the distribution companies that are honest and, ones that'll work. I've been fortunate enough to basically, because we've been in this for so long, I have a list of about 50 distribution companies that, I know are very good, or you'll get your money back, or at least they'll pay you. You get your cash back, and then, distribution opportunities arise from that. So what I'll do is when we finish the movie, we send off screeners, and then I'll spend 2 weeks basically getting all the offers, and we go with the one that's usually the best. Or at least I think is going to fit the film the best. These are all horror specialized distribution companies. But I mean, some of the ones for indie filmmakers, and I think this is something to notice, is that the larger companies, the big time distribution companies, may not be the best fit for you. We had offers from very large ones, Lionsgate, Vertical. We've had big offers, and I know for a fact that we never see $1 from them, because you really, at the end of the day, unless you're getting Netflix, HBO, Peacock, or one of these tier 1 streamers, if you don't get those, you're going to come down in what I call basically the pit, which is Amazon, Tubi, Google Play, and the rest of the other channels down there. And it's hard to make money down there. It's just, we're very lucky because we have a very passionate fan base. And, I have a marketing background, so we can do it. But I see horror stories where someone makes a movie for $500,000, $1 million, and they come down and, they play with us down here, on Amazon and Tubi. Yep. So you have to be careful. You have to kind of know, what you're trying to do. But I think that really starts, if my number one advice to indie filmmakers is try and make it for as cheap as you possibly can. Really try and do it, because if you get over that $50,000, $100,000 mark, it is very, very difficult. Unless you land on one of these tier 1 streaming platforms, you're going to have a hard time. That being said, I am seeing AMC and movie theaters start to be very indie friendly now, which could another opportunity for indie film is going to start to happen, where you know, you make these films cheap and you get them in these theaters, and the theaters are now starting to cater because they don't have inventory. I think it could be very lucrative for some indie filmmakers. But then again, I mean, if you miss on that, you're down here with us. So, you know, my biggest advice is just keep that budget as small as you can. The only thing you control is your budget. After that, just make sure you're doing your homework with distribution.
You know, it's funny because one of the proudest things I got as an actor is, you know, awards are cool, but one of the best feelings I got was after we did A Cold Grave, which is one of his smaller films. Like 2 weeks after it came out, 3 weeks after it came out, he shot me a text. He's like, we broke even. Everything from this point on is profit. And when you're leading in a film, like that's a pretty cool thing because that means I'm marketable. That means the film we just did made money. And we're looking at, you know, I was looking at all the other films that were out at that point, and you know, I love Burt Kreischer, but The Machine lost a lot of money in theaters. Technically, we brought in more money than that. And that's a pretty high budget film. So some of those things I was looking at, and you know, for someone who takes a lot of pride in being a character actor and a side character, to be a leading man in a film that made money that fast, and it's still kicking, pretty cool.
Well, to me, one of the things too is like Brendan was saying about keeping the budgets low, because the way I look at it is that if you can keep those budgets low, that gives you that much better of a chance of making that money back and or making a profit. Because at the end of the day, if you can just make your money back from a film, you've done something that a lot of people haven't been able to do. And it's going to be that much easier for you to approach investors for the next film when they see that, hey, this guy not only is going to get his movies done, but he's going to go out there and I got a shot to get my money back. That's a huge draw. So it's a lot easier to get that investment money for film 2, film 3, film 4, if you can get your money back and maybe a little bit of a profit. Plus also, at the end of the day, like I've told so many people, movies will be here long after we're gone. I've seen people, like we talked about the 80s and 70s and 80s horror films, Felicia Rose and stuff, who is a great actress that I'm going to have hopefully the good fortune of working sometime in the future with. She was in Sleepaway Camp, which was an 80s movie, and they're still playing it left and right all over the place. You're still going to conventions, and people are still paying to see her, getting her autographs, buying her merch. So these movies will be out here for the longest time. So even if you make movies for small budgets, as long as they're quality movies and you get them out there and you get them distributed, you're building a library. You know, even if you only make a little bit here and there on this movie, that times 10, times 15, that stuff starts to build up, and eventually you get to be doing this full time. And that's the dream for all of us, because like you guys were saying at the beginning, I don't care if I'm making money or not. This is my passion. This is my dream. I just want to be able to make movies. I want to get up every day and focus on making my movies and make my movies, and that's it. If I could make money and make this a living, God bless. But at the end of the day, this is what I want to do. This is my passion. So, you know, let's do the best we can to put our opportunities out there and make something happen. But Brendan, once again, with the distribution, what are your thoughts on like the self-distribution route? What are your thoughts on like Film Hub? That seems to be a big prospect right now.
So Cold Grave is actually Film Hub. We were the first people. I work closely with them on some other projects. So we technically use them, but we're beta testing one of their new features. I wish I could say it was really good. It's been okay. I think it's definitely an option for filmmakers. But I still think, you know, you should try and explore all your options. We used Bitmax before. And they were actually pretty good, but they have also have some issues recently. So I'm big on self-distribution. I really wish it would work, but having somebody, you know, constantly pitch your films is a huge plus. And yes, you know, distribution companies are going to take a good cut of your pie, but having somebody going to these festivals, pitching your movie, we made a movie, Horror in the Forest, and it just got an international deal, which is a nice little chunk of change out of nowhere that, you know, we weren't expecting. So that's great. And, you know, basically, you know, having someone, you know, if they're actually going to market your film, like, and by market, I mean going to these film festivals and constantly pitching your movie, it's super important because there's always new channels coming up. Plex is starting to do really well. There's a lot of stuff that, you know, is a face-to-face business. Hollywood still is very old. It's old school. It's, handshake deals. It's go to dinner and wine and dine. And that's how a lot of these golden elevator deals get set up, where it's like the movie's going to be on Netflix or it's going to be on Shudder before they even start production on some of these things. So as an indie filmmaker, if you don't have a producer who knows these people, if you don't have distribution that knows these people, you're already at a disadvantage. But for us, it's just basically, are we going to get paid on time? Are we going to get visibility on these platforms? And can we at least have meetings with Shudder, Peacock, HBO, some of the bigger ones, to see, if they want something, or if we hit it, that's where it'll basically go. And we've had a good time with it. It's just, be careful. I mean, that's the best thing, is just make sure you're doing your research. There's honest people out there. There's really good people out there. There's people who are, helping, that want indie filmmakers to succeed. It's just, the market's a little bit harder. Everyone wants these, name actors. They want $1 million budgets. It's a little tricky to navigate these waters. But once again, like I said before, it's a skill. The second time you go through it, it's going to get easier. And as to you're saying, you have a catalog, you have a library. Everyone's like, well, should I do a short? It's like, do a feature, because the features get people's attentions. You can do them really, really cheap. And every time I talk to a distribution company, it's much easier this time. They say, oh, hey, Brendan, what are you guys working on now? What's next? They're giving me guidance on what's selling now. For our next movie, they're like, we want dark, elevated horror. We want a possession movie, and that is what's coming up next. So it's
Nice.
The conversations get much easier each time. But you have to have a library. You have to continually, do it. Just having anything and being able to, send it to people gets the conversation started. Doors are opening up, but that's just the nature of the beast. And I just wish more indie filmmakers would kind of take a step back and just kind of make sure they make a right decision here. Cause it's, making the movie is one thing, but, navigating marketing distribution is a whole nother beast.
I got a quick question here from the chat from Super Madman Jam. Tooth Brain Productions, preferred distribution for indie films. Either one of you guys, what would you all say?
I've worked with a couple companies. You can see the ones we worked with. I always like indie rights. I think they're really good. Lyndon Nelson is very good. They respond very quickly. They're very indie friendly. I've talked to Uncorked with Keith. He's really good. And there's a whole bunch of other ones, but they're really going to give you, it's not one fit all. It's basically how much they like your film is going to determine the deal. And number two, just make sure they have connections to, some of the other stuff with horror. It's going to be Shudder, it's going to be Screenbox. It's like the bigger streamers, or the ones outside the ones we always get on. But it's not, for each movie, it's different. People react differently. Distribution companies react differently. Cold Grave got a ton of offers for it, and we still went with Film Hub just because I thought that gave us the best, opportunity for this film. So everything's completely different. In that case, it worked out really well. So it's just, it depends on so many variables. I can't give you an answer, but there are Facebook groups out there that you can go on. And you can just see other filmmakers' experiences. I think there's a distribution report card that somebody kind of puts out there, and you can see experiences with other distribution companies. But I mean, it's not, there's no one size fits all. It's really kind of have the conversations, and, you gotta be honest with yourself. If you made a movie for, under 25K and, it has no name actors in it, and, your DP is just starting out, you're just starting out as a director, you can't expect that to go to, HBO and these bigger, it's not going to go straight to Netflix. And I think
you gotta be realistic about it. Yeah.
That's where I think a lot of filmmakers get, kind of stuck, is they think that, they're one film, they spent 3 years writing it, they spent all this effort, and, it could be a great film. But those Netflix deals, those bigger tier one streaming deals, they're done over dinner months before, these projects even start. And that's just the reality of it. So not saying that won't happen. There's a lot of really good low budget stuff and indie filmmakers and first time stuff that's hit those platforms. But the odds of that are very, very slim. You're better off, focusing, getting, your movie out there, getting people seen, and then taking that and leveraging that to, another movie and then another movie after that.
Benjamin, you got anything on distribution you wanna throw in there?
No, man. I just want the one that's going to make the most money so we can keep making movies.
All
That's
right,
kinda-
man.
Like, I'm pestering him all the time. Like, who are we going with? Who are we going with? What's the offer? Are we going to be in movie theaters?
Right. As we wind down, of course, we want to know what you guys got on the plate coming up. If you guys are going to be working together on future projects, you guys got separate things going on. We'll start with you, Benjamin. What do you got coming up, buddy?
Well, I mean, the most recent thing I got coming out that's outside of DBS is with the Asylum with Meth Gator. Although it's outside of DBS, my
Okay.
scene partner in that is Stuart Maxheimer, who's going to be in his 4th DBS film coming up soon, which was we've worked together a lot. He was in A Cold Grave with me, and this is crazy. We were on A Cold Grave, and I was beating him up in A Cold Grave. He was a great performance in that. And then literally 1 week later, we're on the set of an Asylum movie doing Meth Gator, where I get to kick his ass again.
Nice.
Wow.
And we're going to be teaming up in 2 weeks to do our 4th film together. It's my 4th film with Stuart Maxheimer. It's also my 4th film with Brendan when we do our Possession film. I'm excited to film that. And then this summer or later this year, we have the remake of Girl in Cabin 13, Girl in Cabin 14, or until it gets a better title, which, it was a blast because for A Cold Grave and Forced to Death, I played Roger. So it was the same character, and I love it. I imagine we'll probably bring him out again at some point. But being able to create an entirely new character with Brendan and being able to see if we could still work in that environment and watch it go probably even better than I could have imagined was awesome. And that cast from top to bottom, he loaded that cast up. Like, while A Cold Grave was a smaller film, he went all out for Girl in Cabin 14. He's got this big, beautiful cabin. He was flying the actors in from all over the country. The makeup, like everything from Forced to Death, which was sometimes Dylan helping, and it was basically him and Kellen, to Girl in Cabin 14, where there's a team running things now. Just watching the growth in 2 years was insane. That I feel like I get to sit out almost every other film, every 2 films, and I come back and do my little thing whenever Brendan just needs a day off. And he could just hire me to go, just go do whatever it is you do, and I'll just turn the camera on. To see where we're stepping up to this time, where now, like, full disclosure, right before this, we were in a Zoom meeting going over the character for the next film. And I was telling him some ideas. He's like, well, yeah, send it to this person and send it to this person. And I was like, all right, well, stepping your game up a little. I used to just send you my pictures and you would order stuff for me. But now we got to go through channels to get to you. That's cool. So that it's very cool to see what, Girl in Cabin 13, which is crazy because I was a fan of that before I ever worked with Brendan, which is still weird, and a fan of Stuart Maxheimer before I ever worked with him. To see that of a guy like, oh, we made this movie I like, to working with him, and now working with him for a 4th time, to just watch him and DBS just blow off into the stratosphere, and just to be a little part of that is so cool for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Brendan, did he? What's going on? I think Benjamin mentioned a little bit with what's coming up with DBS. Anything extra on the plate that you can tell us about?
Bigfoot.
Yeah, we got a full plate over here. We have a Bigfoot movie, which I'm hoping to have a Discord cut, which is our community is on Discord, and we give them an advanced showing, and they basically can, critique it and let us fix it up a little bit before sending it off to distribution. My hope is to have that by May. We are shooting a movie next week, and once that happens, it's all hands on deck, and then it takes a couple of days to basically return to normal life, after a shoot. So that's my goal, is to get that one out in May. The good news is we've really revamped our post-production process, and I have 3 films right now that are very close to being completed. We have the Bigfoot movie, which Ben mentioned. We have Girl in Cabin 14, which is a working title. It's a remake of a movie that we did the one that kind of took us off, changed our careers back in 2021. So we remake that one. That'd be cool to see our progress. And then we have Haunting of the Murder House 2, which is another remake of a movie we did before, now that we're better. All three of those I have very solid rough cuts on them. They should be pretty much launched. I think if I get all three of them out by August, I'll be really happy. And then we have I'm going to take a stab at the Exorcist movie, a possession movie.
Yes.
One of my favorite movies of all time. And I had the honor to see it in the original 35 millimeter format at the Enzian, which is a local art house theater by me. Fantastic movie. And it's one of those movies that really kind of stuck with me when I first saw it. So I've always wanted to do a possession movie. And we now have a very talented special effects team with Tegan and Tatum. And they're both going to help us with this. And the effects are going to be, probably our best. I'm really looking forward to doing this one. We've been on a found footage binge, so now we're back to cinematic, which allows us to be, a little bit more creative. I'm excited for this stuff. And, we're trying to make more movies, trying to make 4 movies this year. So we did 4 last year. We're going to try to do 4 this year. And I think we're right on schedule. So, it's always fun. It's tiring. It's a lot of work, but, at the end of the day, this is, it's really cool to be able. Yeah, it's really cool to be like, hey, I was talking to Ben before, we're doing his character. I'm like, Constantine is what we're trying to go here. We want to do Possession, we want to do Exorcist. And you sign off and you're like, man, I can't believe we're just going to, from this little conversation, we're going to get a full project, that millions of people are basically going to see.
So cool.
That's what I was going to say. The craziest thing about all of this is that little character from Forest of Death made this whole movie that 1 million people have seen. That we just had this idea, like, what if we just didn't use a script? Like, what we did a story, and you're really good at improv. So let's just improvise an entire movie. And that's what A Cold Grave was. We improvised the entire movie. Every take was a completely different take. He could have edited that movie 100 different ways. And as an actor, found footage, there's people that crap on found footage, and they're not cool with it. They can go to hell, because that is so much harder than doing a cinematic movie. Like, we're talking about going back to cinematic, and I'm so excited to have more than one take, and I can try different things. But in found footage, he's like, this is a 2-minute scene, go. And I'm improvising. So it's a 2-minute improv, and if he doesn't like it, we're doing it again. If I flub a word, we're starting all over again. Every scene is a one-take deal. Where Forest of Death, it's cinematic. So I improvise the same scene 4 or 5 times, 10 to 13 minutes at a time. Cool, he can edit that together. A Cold Grave, what you're seeing, that's the take. That was it. That was, attempt 3, attempt 4. That was until he said, okay, we got it, moving on. There's no editing that. That's just, you have to be on your game for every single take and every single shot, because it's found footage, so we're just going to go. So I know there's a found footage community out there. Thank you all so much for watching it and appreciating it. And for everyone out there who's like, I don't like those style of movies, they're garbage, go to hell.
Go to hell.
It's so hard to do.
Go to
hell. Footage is so hard. You know how many concussions I got making that movie? Because we have to continue to take 3. At least 3 concussions.
Wow.
And maybe poison ivy. We're not sure.
Maybe
yet.
poison ivy.
We're not going to ask where.
No. Okay.
Where?
Were there any questions there in the chat?
It's so much easier.
There was none. None has come up. The last one was preferred distribution. So if nobody has any further questions, one last thing, Brendan, Benjamin, I'd like you guys both to throw out some links. Where can people, know about what's coming up with DBS Films? Where can people see you again, Benjamin? Whoever wants to go first.
I can do all the plugs. First, for everything DBS, download the Discord app, find DBS Films. They are an incredibly interactive community, and the DBS motto is they make films for their fans, with their fans. That's not a lie. He really does. He puts out casting to his Discord community before he puts it on crappy Backstage or on Facebook or anywhere else. He goes right to the Discord where they do regular events in there, showing off your skills. And that's where they want to find their next talent. That's where they found people that were in a cold grave.
So you're saying the Discord app?
Yeah, except for myself and Stu, everyone else in the cold grave was found on Discord. They all auditioned through Discord. They showed off their capabilities and their talents through Discord. That's where they were discovered, was on there. He really wants to give back to the community that's helping to give to him.
Absolutely.
So for DBS,
so how would what on that note, not to cut you off, Benjamin, but how would somebody take and go about auditioning for a side actor? Is there? I'm sure one of you guys will put out. You just go to Discord and then search DBS Films. How does that
Discord,
work?
Find DBS Films. Engage yourself in the community. They're horror fans, but they're also really good people. So they do a lot of different events. Right now, I'm getting an alert that they're doing an egg hunt right now on the DBS Discord. There's always something going on, but when it comes time to prep for a movie, they're an entire meta experience, not just about the film with DBS. What they're doing is they're bringing you every single step of the way. So from pre-production day one of, hey, we're going to make this movie, audition for it. Show off your makeup capabilities. Show us what you can do if you want to come be a part of this movie. And they do all the auditions through there before it goes to anybody else. They all get the first crack at it. And then when the production starts, all the behind the scenes, all the interaction is done on the Discord. And the post-production, when he's saying that the first screening is for the Discord, he's not lying. That's the first test screening. That's the premiere of the movie is for the Discord. And even though it may cost him some money, because those are less people are probably going to go and buy it, they're going to do it that way. They're going to give it back to the fans. They're going to take their feedback from it. Everything that they want to offer is what he's going to take to re-edit that movie before it goes out. That's why at the end of every DBS film, you'll see all the special things. And it's going to list all the Discord members who are involved. That's the whole reason I think Roger took off was the first test screening of Forest of Death, where you started to see the comments from the Discord where Roger. That right there is like, oh, we might be onto something with this guy. And it's just such a wholesome way to run a business where we talk a lot about making money and profiting, but what you don't see is the part of Brendan that says, you know, I could bring in this A-list actor and it'll cost me this amount of money, and that's good. Or I could take that money and I can get 3 people from the Discord and bring them in too.
Yep.
And I can tell you what he's going to do because I've seen the cast list. I know where they're coming from. He's giving back to the people that helped. He's giving back to the fans, the real fans, the DBS super fans. So that would be the first place to go. And then obviously Instagram, Facebook for him, it's all DBS Films. Look up DBS Films. You'll either find him or Goku and Vegeta. For me, it's at _real, REEL_BLN, like film reel. Thought it was clever. Just gets lost in translation, or just search my name. I'll pop up. And then if you're lucky, you may find me in some weird Chinese site or Russian pirate site. You're a big fan of pirating a cold grave.
Well, real quick, I was going to say real quick, we had mentioned Skinamarink earlier. We've got our friend Jamie Hill from Skinamarink that's been popping up here a couple of times. She had a couple questions, I think. Real quick.
She said here, were they filming? I'm not sure what that's in regards to.
No, I'll get you the scoop and let you know later on, Jamie.
Yeah, and said she's been waiting on Discord. I don't know if there's a waiting list. She said, I wonder if they know it's me.
All right.
And one last comment. Havoc is working on a personalized Rogers hard liquor bottle just for you, Ben.
Make sure I got my Havoc cigarettes ready for the Exorcist movie or the Possession movie.
There you go.
The first one to pull out that pack of Havoc cigarettes in a DBS film.
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. If you got a minute, stay on just for a second. We're going to close the show out, say goodbye to you off the show. Look forward to what you guys coming out. I really enjoyed A Cold Grave and Forest of Death. Really, really good movies. And you know what? I think people who shit on found footage can go to hell too. I'm right there with you.
Go to hell.
Because, you know, hey, look, any movie can be done shitty. There can be shitty found footage. shitty, just regular movies, not found footage. They could just be, it doesn't matter. But if it's done right, and I think you guys did it right, it works. It works really well. So again, DBS Films all across the board on social media. And of course, you guys is IMDb. Check them out.
Yeah,
Keep
go
your
click
eye
on my
open.
IMDb page. It helps my rankings because that's just
There you go.
There you
All right,
go.
so hang out for a few minutes. We'll close out the show, and we'll say a proper goodbye to you guys, okay?
We'll be right back, guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you guys again.
Good
Man,
one.
sometimes
yeah,
I look at this clock, and I'm like, man, why can't we squeeze out a few more minutes? That was some good conversations. Yeah, I'm looking forward
That
to
was
talking
real
to them.
good conversation. And boy, you talk about good conversation. You're certainly not going to want to miss next week's show.
Oh, no.
I'm a little worried, to say the least. It is simply titled The Voodoo Show. Richard Harloss comes back and joins us. He joined us a few weeks ago. This time he's bringing a real voodoo priest. You're not going to want to miss this, guys. You're not going to want to miss
And be nice on the chats because we don't want anybody getting
we don't
hurt.
want no bad juju. I got
no
enough
bad juju. This guy's a good guy, and we're just going to learn the gist about the stories that they have. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be a lot of fun. So thank you. I know every show we always get, a few new viewers to the show brought in by our guests a lot of times. So I want to thank you guys for joining in. Hope to see you every week. And for those watching on the replay, thank you as well. So don't forget, May 13th, new issue is coming out, IndieHorrorJunkie.com.
Right.
Get all the past episodes if you want.
Right.
So, hey, man, been a great show. I'm glad to be back. You know what they say in the biz, Rick.
We'll see you next Wednesday.